dance life. I used to be,
We can start.
yeah, yeah.
I love it.
I used to be a semi-professional salsa dancer. I still dance. I just don't perform and compete anymore. Running my own business takes up most of my time.
So
But
salsa dancing, how'd you get into that? That sounds like
oh gosh, I've danced since I was like 18 months old. So I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD. So, and I grew up in a super abusive household.
fun.
So not your fault. And and so dance kind of became the way I could speak without saying a word, a way of expressing myself that no one could argue with or tell me I was wrong. Although people still tell you you're wrong, but
It doesn't matter what you do. I
it
mean,
doesn't matter what you do. Someone's always got an opinion, and it
exactly.
doesn't really, it's none of their business, but
That-
people try to pretend like it
That's
is.
that's what I like to say on here sometimes. That everyone's got a favorite movie or whatever, and it could be the best movie ever made. I don't know what the top movie of all time is, but there's always going to be one person who sits on it. No matter what. And then
100%. It
yeah,
just didn't identify with them. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, well, what do you
So
didn't like? What like? I don't know. I just didn't like it. It's like, did you not like the acting? Did you not like how long it was? I mean, well, come on, say something. Like, no, I didn't got to tell you. I hated it. It's like, that's fine then.
okay.
You
All
know,
right. Yeah.
life. So wait, how long did you salsa dance for?
Oh, I started when I was 25, 26, and then I performed and competed till I was about 30. And then I decided I wanted to get really serious about my career. And then like 2 years later, I started my business, and that was 5 years ago. So I haven't, 5.5 years ago. So I haven't gone back to performing or competing just because, God help us, it costs a lot of money and it took a lot of time. I was in the dance studio like 30, 40 hours a week. But yeah, so I started when I was 25, but I still dance. And many of my clients come from people I knew in the salsa world. There's lots and lots of people. It's a whole subculture. There's like lawyers and real estate developers and like doctors and all these like amazing, incredible people. They're like cutting a rug on the dance floor. But
Is
it's not ballroom style. It's like street style salsa.
is that your favorite type? I mean, is that what like the only thing I really know about salsa dancing? Have you ever seen? I think it's Along Came Polly, and
Yes.
Stiller's in there.
Yes, I
It's
have.
it's kind of like that type
Yeah.
of. I guess that's salsa.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
That
cool.
vibe. Yes, that vibe. Yeah. Yep. That's a salsa club. That's different than ballroom salsa. Ballroom salsa is like different.
More structured, I guess. Just exactly what.
No, street salsa is very structured. It's just, I say ballroom structured is like stripped down. It's lost its connection with the whole authenticity of salsa. Like it's not connected to the music anymore. It's just about the steps and the beats. It's different. I don't know that I'd ever want to do that. Although Dancing with the Stars is on my list of things to do on my bucket list, 100%.
I'm impressed. I mean, is
Yeah.
salsa the only style you do? Or
No, 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 no.
you
I
get
grew up doing ballet, tap, and jazz, and I took some hip hop classes. It's not my favorite, but some Latin jazz classes. I really want to learn tango. I've taken tango classes. I know bachata and cha-cha. Um, whatever. I took some pachanga classes. That's
I like
really, really hard. Um, or at least it wasn't time because I was learning salsa on one and on two and pachanga at the same time, which I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but anybody who dances who listens to this will know exactly what that means. There's like you stepping on the one or stepping on the two. It's like it's just a different beat structure, but the steps are virtually the same. Anyway, yeah,
well,
there's a lot of nuance to dance.
I know we're not here to talk about salsa and stuff, and we'll get into your other stuff later, but you kind of sparked my curiosity because you're the first person I guess I've ever
Yeah.
virtually met and
Yeah.
that actually has a competitive salsa dancer. And just that, I mean, what's it like?
Yeah.
Just because I compete,
Oh,
locally, I guess regionally in CrossFit and do those competitions and stuff, but I just kind of,
different.
yeah.
Dance is different. It's a lead and follow situation. So, you have to trust your partner.
Mhm.
So, typically, trained salsa dancers will watch someone dance before we'll dance with them if we don't know them, because we need to know, especially as a follow. I'm a follow. Um, you need to know that they understand how to protect you on the dance floor, that they're not going to throw you into other people. I've had bad leads throw me into another couple, like in a spin me out into another couple. And you're supposed to dance in a track. You establish your lane and you stay in that lane. If you're dancing all over the place, you're going to bump into people all the time. What happens as a follow is that I might be in the middle of a spin and someone else is throwing another girl out into her spin, and I'll get stepped on. I've walked out with bloody feet. Like it gets real crazy on the dance floor if you don't watch out, or like someone could smack you in the face, or you might get scratched. So, there's hundreds. Sometimes we're dancing and there's dozens of couples. Sometimes you're in a ballroom and there's hundreds of couples dancing at the same time. So you really need to establish good boundaries. And
Yeah.
if your partner, your lead isn't paying attention and doesn't respect those boundaries and understand those boundaries, then somebody's going to get hurt. It's just like when you're doing an exercise. If you don't know how to do it, you're going to hurt yourself.
Okay.
Right? So just watching someone else doesn't mean you know how to do it. There's nuance and there's muscle memory and there's all these things. So
Sure.
as a salsa dancer, like you really got to trust your lead. And so it's like not, like if you're with a lead that is someone who's learning, right? Like it doesn't mean I don't dance with people who are learning. It just means if they are learning, then I might back lead a little and move us out of the group of people so that I don't get hurt. Like I might keep us somewhere and I might back lead and push him over, or her. Sometimes I'm led by her. I might kind of push them over with my body so that so that I keep myself safe.
Right.
It's like it's a whole thing. It's exceptionally fun. I don't know, dance is one of those things that the minute I start dancing, my face, I'm smiling the entire time. I cannot help it. It's my favorite thing. Dancing is literally my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
It's like you're saying that, if you had a tough day or whatever and just everything's going wrong, but once you start dancing, it's one of those like,
yes, it's meditative.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's a whole body workout. Most of the time people think they're in good shape. Go salsa dancing and tell me if you're in good shape, because the endurance that's required, like when I go salsa dancing, I'm dancing for hours, right? And you're not dancing consistently for hours, but you're dancing in 3-minute increments, and you're dancing quickly and you're using your entire body for those 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you might take a break and for 30 seconds or a minute, and then you're on to the next dance, and you might dance like that for hours. So like, good luck.
What what are the judges watching for? Just your moves and if you perform correctly and if you're actually
100%
not hitting somebody?
Well, when you're doing a competition, that's structured. That's not just free dancing. We're performing on a stage.
Oh.
And that's structured. Yeah. Yeah. That's totally different. Yeah. Totally different. That's just like you would see on Dancing with the Stars. Like you're on a stage, it's choreographed, you know exactly what you're doing. When you're dancing on a dance floor, it's just social dancing. That's not choreographed.
Ooh,
you're just following. You're just following what he leads. And when a guy leads or a girl leads, anybody can lead. Guy, girl, non-binary, doesn't matter your gender. Anyone can lead as long as they've learned how to lead, right? So you lead with hand movements.
Okay.
That's how but the tango is different. Tango, you lead with the body. There's other dances that lead with the body. Each dance style, but many of them lead with the hand. There's hand in some body, but you just learn, what it means. You can feel the way the guy flicks his wrist, or a girl like swings your arm, or a person like swings your arm to prep you for a move. It's like muscle memory. It's like riding a bike. You know what you're supposed to do.
So when you're using your hands, like I say I'm a lead or whatever, I'm using my hands, and like you just said, I guess that I kind of maneuver you in a way that I want you to go, and you know exactly what's going to be happening next. Or
because everybody learns the same thing.
Okay.
Everybody learns the same way, right? So people will like watch salsa and they'll think suddenly they can like dance, and it's like, no, because I don't know what you're leading, because you haven't learned, right? You haven't taken any classes. When you take a class and you learn from a professional salsa dancer, they're going to teach you how to lead something so that as a follow, I'm not guessing. I know exactly what you want me to do. If you have a clean lead, that's a clean lead. Like if you're just making it up as you go along, God only knows what's about to happen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I know we didn't come here to talk about all salsa dancing and stuff, but I do like it. Just like I watch it sometimes, and where there's a movie, or if I see it on YouTube, random videos, and then I actually had a dancer on here who has his own dancing company now a few weeks ago, and I was like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
And I respect that. I actually made an Instagram reel of doing my own little. You know, have you watched the show Peacemaker with John Cena? Probably not.
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to learn. I had some people tell me I should probably learn the intro to it or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
it's tough, you know. And I have no dancing background whatsoever. So
Mhm.
yeah, and just taking the time to learn that and choreograph it. Well, not really choreograph it; was already choreographed, but learn the steps little by little.
Yeah.
It was fun for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Good for you. I'm
Either
trying. I mean, I feel like we should bring dance back. Social dancing used to be a thing. It used to be part of our, every culture in the world. Social dancing was a thing. We kind of lost connection with that here in the U.S.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it was
Yeah.
one of those. I mean, I guess not in my lifetime really, but most lifetimes, I always had the school dances, and it was like the boys on one side of the gym and the girls on the other. Nobody knew how to dance, but it was one of those things early before my time that Friday and Saturday night you go out dancing or whatever.
Hmm.
And it
Yeah.
was nobody cared to I guess how I guess I'm not speaking personally, but yeah, nobody really cared how they looked, but or everyone just knew basic moves, I guess.
Hmm.
And that it was like a human connection that you made just through dance. And
Yes, exactly. It was
yeah,
time just, where we just were together. You don't, no one, if you stop all the music when you go out dancing and you start asking people their political opinions, you'll have a fight. But if you turn up the music and you just are moving together, suddenly you find ways to connect that you never thought were possible.
I mean, do you think that reason the trend just got out of it, just where nobody wanted to go out dancing, except well, if you did go out dancing, it was just let's take shots and then grind up on each other. But
No, I think it started before then. I think it started when different immigrant groups were coming to the United States and they felt the need to strip themselves of all of their authentic, culture because they didn't want to be identified by that because there was so much prejudice built into,
good point.
oh, who's the new wave of whatever immigrant group was coming was being persecuted. And
Sure.
so was the first thing they did. They changed their names, they stripped themselves of their culture, they learned English. It was a whole process of de-authenticating themselves and becoming this American ideal.
That's a great point. I never thought about it like that. But yeah, I mean, you just went into what people wanted you to be and just said,
Yeah.
screw my
Hmm.
past. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever think that with COVID, just we were there or people were in there being in quarantine for whatever 2 years or whatever it was, but
Hmm.
they just want to get out now and they want to do stuff, and or I mean, I do anyway. So I mean, do you think we might start to see a rise back? I mean,
I mean, I'm trying to bring it back.
I love it.
I'm like Bridgerton style. Like, let's just have like dance parties. Like beautiful, amazing, just like dance parties where like I don't know. I think it's important that we remember the ways that we can connect with one another. There's
Sure.
too many things to argue about. Let's find things not to argue about. Let's find ways to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. And dance is one of those things you connect, not only physically but mentally, and you just kind of
Hmm.
I don't know. I
Hmm.
guess get that, like you said, that connection. You just feel
Yeah. Hmm.
it's a good feeling
Yeah.
too, especially when you know how to dance. It brings confidence up, and from I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, for
Yes.
me, and like you said, it was a good exercise too. So
Exactly. Yeah.
anyway, we don't really have to keep talking about dancing, but look, we can go.
Yeah.
But it was good. It's good stuff though. But
Yeah.
so anyway, you're a professional interior designer
I am.
and a life design coach consultant.
I'm a life designer. Yeah.
Okay.
I hate the word. I dislike what the word coach has become.
How do you
I
mean?
hate how ubiquitous it has become and how like so many people call themselves a coach. It feels like everyone's a coach of
Sure.
something. And it doesn't mean that it's not valid. It's just become too ubiquitous and it's lost its meaning.
Just
Doesn't really mean anything anymore.
people say they're a coach, but they just say that just because it's the cool
No,
thing.
I don't think it's just because they say it just because it's the cool thing. I think it's just the way that we've learned to identify ourselves in a specific lane. And it used to be like consultant was like this thing that nobody knew what it was. Now everybody knows what a consultant and a coach is. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. No.
I refrain from that because I don't do one-on-one coaching. It's just I work with my interior design clients and I work with people in general, and I'm a speaker and a writer, and I talk to people about how to like design their lives, but I don't really do one-on-one. People don't hire me as their life design coach. They
Okay.
hire me as their interior designer and we work on designing their life. It's part of what I do as an interior designer. And then I talk to people about how to design your life, how to be more intentional. Um, but I don't do like one-on-one coaching. I have in the past. It's just not it's impactful for that person, but I really want to reach a larger group of people.
Yeah. Some friends and I were talking about this and that, I teach or coach some CrossFit classes on the
Yeah.
side too. And, we were talking, are we
Well,
really
coaching
coaching?
in that sense is you
Well, but,
actually coaching someone physically.
well, sort of, but, I told him, I was like, I don't know if I really would call myself a coach,
Yeah.
just, it's a group class. I mean, there is some one-on-one stuff, but a trainer, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. It's tough. I was like, I don't know if I see myself as a coach just because I don't know, just kind of what you said, I guess. But I was trying to think of a better word for it just now, and it was not really coming to me. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of maybe a facilitator with the class.
Oh, that's a good word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I was just like, if you break it down and like with those group style, and I'm not shitting on coaches or by any means, but there's big group classes or whatever. It's just you can't give everybody one-on-one coaching, especially when you get into the workout and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But
Hmm.
if you call a basketball coach a coach, I mean, I guess you could see that, but I don't know. I guess it's a gray area, maybe. I don't know.
I guess it just depends on how you see yourself.
The situation.
Yeah, it depends on how you see yourself and how you want to be seen. It's up to you. I just don't use the word coach because then people think of me as being someone who can hire one on one, and I'm building a massive business and a speaking career and a writing career and all these other things. I one-on-one coaching, you really kind of need to be dedicated and that be your only thing that you're doing. And I don't have the time for that.
Yeah. No. So, how did this all come about? I mean, what sparked? During you wanted to
Well,
be a
an interior
consultant
designer.
or
Well,
a designer, and both, really.
yeah. So that's what I went to school for. So I have a BS in interior design.
Nice.
And through the years, I realized that my approach and my way of viewing interior design was perhaps different than other people's. And each one of our perspective is unique based on our own life experience. But for me, the reason why I went into interior design is because of my very traumatic upbringing, living in an abusive household. Every time something really bad would happen, I would reorganize the furniture in my room, or I would like clean or organize something. I just needed to break my association with what was, and I needed to set the stage for new possibilities. I needed to set the stage for the story I wanted my life to tell, not the story that was being pushed on me.
Yeah.
And I recognized how much power there is in our physical environment and how it is in many ways a direct reflection of our beliefs about ourselves. And as we learn more about ourselves, as we gain a deeper understanding of our purpose, whether we're assigning it to ourselves or we feel it naturally, as that changes, so does our understanding of ourselves. And so then, does and can our physical environment, and they kind of work as symbiotic beings. I think we can recognize where we might be stuck in our life when we start to see our physical or our surroundings getting stuck, or the clothing, that we're putting on our body, or different aspects of our physical environment or our physical life start to get stuck. Things start piling up in places, in corners or papers or whatever it is. There's usually some physical manifestation when we get stuck in our life. And to be able to move through that and reshape and reform that so that we can reset that stage for ourselves. And for me, at some point, I just realized being an interior designer was a thing, and that I could go to college for it. And then I needed to technically, to be an interior designer, you need a 4-year degree, a BS, in interior design from an accredited university, or you're mentored or, underneath someone who is. And, you know, it's such an incredible thing to learn, to understand how impactful our physical environment is, in the classroom. But then I recognized that there was so much I needed to learn and apply. And I had this kind of very serpentine um, career, because when I graduated from college, it's 2007. So in 2008, the economy crashed.
Right.
And then in 2009, I was laid off. And I had been doing residential design at the time. And so then I moved into commercial, and I did that for over a decade, just over a decade, before starting my, when I started my business 5.5 years ago, I was still working full time, and then took my business full time 3 years ago, and started to recognize, that a holistic approach to interior design. It wasn't about creating a brand style. It wasn't about m- my style being recognizable. It was about my clients being able to see themselves in their own homes, to see a reflection of themselves, to see this authentic connection to who they saw themselves as, a refined, distilled, intentional version of who they are in their physical environment. And and then that kind of just blossomed and has taken off, and I was able to rebrand my business at the end of last year, and just let it expand from there. I really love what I do, and I love constantly learning new ways that I can be more intentional, and I can help my clients be more intentional with their lives.
That's really well, beautifully said. I like that. I mean, just and just I was thinking about the whole time that when I purchased my first home, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, I forgot when, but I have no design or decorative instincts or whatever you want to say. But I remember just thinking that, when I come home to my own home, it was my first home, that, I want to know this is my style. This is my place. This
Yeah.
is my sanction. And just, I had no
Yeah.
idea how to do that. So I kept reaching out and I kept looking up stuff on, I guess, Pinterest and Google or whatever I could find.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
everyone
and I
does.
can and I can never really, and I'm still kind of going through that now. I mean, I got this little spackle in the holes right here. I'm kind of redoing my little third bedroom slash studio thing right here now. Um, but yeah, just I wanted something that represented me and how I felt, and that kind of reflected me when people would come over and like, I could see you living this way. This makes
Yeah.
so sense for you. And then I don't know, maybe it's just because I've only seen a few styles that I've truly liked.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of usually the problem. People don't directly connect with specific styles. And so I don't like pick a style and align it with a client's project. I Most of the projects that I do, they're eclectic. They pull from a whole bunch of different styles and a whole bunch of different things. And I love to intermix, maybe many of my clients have like heirloom pieces or pieces from family or things they've collected from traveling around the world, especially art, and to keep all those things, right? Many times they're like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to part with all of these things. And I'm like, but you don't have to. You don't have to. We're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I want you to be represented here. It's not about me, it's about you. So let's see what pieces we can keep. Let's see what feels the most connected to you, and we can incorporate, moving forward.
Yeah, I like that. You actually get down with the client and know, hey, I love that. You ain't gonna throw out all their heirlooms and stuff too, and that's a big part of them. And
Yeah.
that, yeah, I think a lot of people confuse that they have to always, and I don't really know this on a personal basis, but yeah, they have to always throw out everything, get rid of everything, all new stuff come in when they're redesigning their homes or whatever you
Yeah.
want to say it. But it's like you said, it doesn't have to be that way, and that's one thing
No.
I also learned too, because I think I had a family member that was like that growing up. When in my household, it was always like, oh, all this stuff is out, we're buying new stuff, it's gone no matter
Yeah.
what. And it's like, that was kind of cool. That piece is not that bad.
Right.
I mean, right?
Right. Yeah. 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 I like there to be a little quirkiness, a little. I've never met a not weird person.
Mm,
Everyone is weird. It's just a matter of how. And I love to say, like, I like people's weirds. Like,
yeah.
just put your weirds out on display. I'm not talking about creepy. I'm talking about weird,
Right.
right? Like, I want to know what makes you weird, and I want to find a way to embrace it, in a way that's interesting, in a way that feels thoughtful, in a way that feels like authentic. But
Right.
it doesn't feel weird, right? We don't need it to feel weird. We want to, just embrace your weird.
Yeah, not everybody is, like you said, everyone's got their weird, and not everybody's perfect, and you're going to find that in all
No
styles.
one's perfect. There's no such
Exactly.
thing.
And here a few years ago, I actually started. You actually see one in the background. I started building, Legos. That's kind of one of my
Yeah.
adult things, and like I've tried to
Yeah.
find ways to display 'em.
I was gonna say those are Star Wars Legos
Yeah, I got a
specifically.
Star Wars one too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I felt weird telling people that when I first started, just because I didn't want, like, what are you, 6? Why do you build Legos? I was like,
I had a client who reached out who had specific request for his new condo that we build special shelving for his Star Wars Legos. That's why I'm familiar with what's
I,
behind you. I'm like, first of all, I've seen Star Wars, obviously,
Nice.
but and a fan, not a super fan, but a fan. But I was like, oh yeah, those are definitely Star Wars Legos. I know those.
I got some Batman ones too, but
Yeah,
we don't have to talk about that.
yeah.
but yeah, but I mean, that's like, I had this vision that, speaking of Batman, that I watched Batman versus Superman with Ben Affleck in it or whatever, and he has this house that's kind of right on a river or a lake or something. But it was
I've
so like,
seen it.
okay,
I'm not a DC. I'm not really a DC fan. I'm more of a Marvel fan.
that's
But
fine.
I have seen Batman versus Superman. If you haven't, like, come on.
Okay. But anyway, he had I don't want to say it's like a minimalistic
Mhm.
contemporary kind of look. I was like, I really like that look. And then
Yeah.
I could see myself with that look, but is that really me? But if you put little ad pieces like the Legos and stuff, you can make it you. That's
Yes,
kind of
exactly.
that's the only
Yeah.
thing I've ever seen that kind of I felt like I was drawn to.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a cat or a dog behind you?
I got it. I just got a dog.
Oh, a dog. Okay.
Look
Oh,
at
hi. Hi,
it.
doggy.
It's Rocky. Oh, this is a awesome podcast going on right here.
Right,
All
right.
right.
People are like, what is happening?
Anybody want to see the dog? He's on YouTube too.
Right.
All right. Listen, I have another one too. You might see him in a minute. But anyway, like, so when you were going up through, getting, studying, I know you have your bachelor's in this, but
Mhm.
you also have a mentor as well to kind of help you guide you along the way and
Oh, yeah.
getting your stuff together.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, teachers. I had one teacher, and I just actually had an article published in Medium. Yeah, in Medium's Authority magazine. I was like, am I lying? Yes, no, it was Medium. And it's also being published in Thrive Global. And I talked about, the whole thing was about resilience. But what came up for me while writing this article is how many times in my life teachers made all the difference in the world and were significant mentors for me. And one in particular in college, her name is Lisa Phillips. I sent her the article after I had it published. Um, she, so long story short, like, I went to county college for my first year to save money and take some gen ed courses, and I
Understand.
transferred.
I did the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, pay for your first year in cash. Why not? So I transferred, and the day before classes started on my most like my third semester at university, at Philadelphia University. It's now part of Thomas Jefferson. So the third semester, the third and fourth, is when they specifically try to weed you out. They don't want anybody who doesn't belong in the program there. So it's the hardest 2 semesters of the entire program.
Okay.
Um, my first love died the day before classes started, and 4 weeks later, I cut my thumb nearly off with a table saw. And I was really, really struggling. Like, on top of all of that, I had the abuse and trauma at home. I had all this stuff going on. If you want to know all the details, definitely read the article. It's way too much to go into here.
That's
But
okay.
um, that Lisa Phillips, my one teacher, she saw me struggling, and she had no idea why. She had no idea why. And she just, like, reached out, and she's like, I see that you're struggling. Here's what I think you could do to help yourself. And she just kind of, like, took me under her wing, and, would give me little nudges when I needed them for the next 3 years I was in college, 3.5 years. And it changed everything. I went from being a student who was struggling, and somebody who, because I was a person who was struggling, to someone who graduated top of the class. And if it weren't for her, and to this day, she's still somebody I call on, like, when I needed a design assistant, I was like, hey, Lisa, who you got in your class? I still keep in contact with her. There's been people like that throughout my life who just, they saw that my spark was going out, and they didn't have any idea why. And they just came into my life and just kind of, like, lit a match, and helped me to relight my own fire, right? And it just changed everything. Teachers, for many people, teachers have changed their lives. So yeah, in many ways, it's been, teachers or mentors or other people in business who have just kind of like, hey, here, come over here.
Yeah.
But I want to be your friend. Okay, great. Yeah.
I hope I don't butcher this quote, but just when you were talking like that or talking about that story, that this came to mind, and I probably will mess it up because I ain't
It's all
said
right. Go for it.
it. Okay, good. Because I don't even remember who said it. But anyway, it's like, do you feel that? And I guess I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you feel that you have to know your own dark arts or dark times to actually help somebody who's going through dark times like that? Does that kind of make sense? It's something
It's
along.
empathy. Yeah. I mean, I think you tap into empathy. I think you don't have to what sympathy isn't my favorite. I'm not a fan. Because to me, and I had this whole talk about it, sympathy is like a simulation, right? Instead of tapping into our own authentic life experience and understanding that I don't understand what you're going through, but I do understand the emotions you're moving through. I
Sure.
felt those before. I've been in your shoes in some way, right? Emotionally in your shoes.
Sure.
And when we can tap into that, tap into our own humanity, then we can connect with people and say, again, I haven't been through what you've gone through. Because even if I was going through the exact same situation that you've gone through right now, I haven't been through the rest of your life. So I can't see the situation you're going through right now the way you see it. Right. So there's no way for me to fully understand what you're going through, but I can understand the fear you feel. I can understand the sadness or the loneliness. And I think she just must have seen I was struggling and
Yeah.
knew that at time in her life that she had struggled. And she was just like, hey, let me help you, here. And I think many teachers are just like that. I mean, that's why they go into teaching.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that you needed to have this experience and be vulnerable at this time and go along this life path to make, have some humility and be vulnerable just to bring you all where you're at today? Or,
Oh, hell yeah. People ask me all the time. My life story is traumatic. Um, and people ask me all the time. Someone asked me a week or two ago if I would change anything about my life story, and I would not. I would not change a thing, not a thing, because do I wish it on myself? No,
sure.
but I've already been through it and it's made me stronger and it's made me better. Do I hope that no one ever has to go through the things I went through? Hell yeah. I really hope that no one ever has to go through those things, but I've already been through them, and I not only survived, but I've made a pretty amazing life for myself, and I empower other people to do the same thing. So no, I value my life experience.
Yeah. I don't advocate for any life experiences like that, but I mean, I guess my point being is that, sometimes you need those experiences to find out who you are and to actually
Yeah.
motivate you and create discipline. A lot of
Yeah.
people,
Life is struggle. I
yeah,
mean, it doesn't matter what your struggle is. Life is struggle. I just don't think that life has to be trauma.
no, no,
That's the
like,
that's the fine line between those things.
I understand
Life is
that.
struggle, absolutely. Life is pain, 100% agree with that,
Yeah.
right? But life doesn't have to be trauma, and life doesn't have to be traumatizing other people.
Yeah, definitely not. But yeah, just I always, when talking with people like you and have these stories and watching movies and reading my books or whatever, it's like I love these type of stories of people who had these experiences and they came up and they overcame the odds, and it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, you're a badass now. That's so badass. You fought through it and you stuck with it even at the
Yeah.
darkest times. And you don't. A lot of people, and again, I'm generally speaking, they find that wall they get to, and or barrier, whatever you want to say, and then there's, well, this is it, whatever. This is all I'm going to be. I'm not going to try to do anything more. This is all I have in my life, and it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like that. I mean, I had some
No.
friends who had some. I don't want to say trauma. I don't want to speak for them, but had some bad experiences in their early childhood, and and they used to say, "Well, I got to do it this way because this is what my dad did, or this is what mom did." I was like, "No, that's not necessarily it, bro." It's like, just because they did it doesn't mean you're your own person. You don't have to
Yeah.
follow their lead. You can do
Yeah.
anything you want to be.
Yeah. The PTSD is sinister. That's a whole conversation.
Mm,
PTSD rewires your brain, not your mind. It rewires your brain and your body. It is exceptionally sinister that way. So for many people, if you don't recognize that you have PTSD, if you don't understand that, if you don't want to understand that, um, then you can't possibly begin to understand the ways in which it affects you physically, and then it affects you mentally. And so for many people, they are stuck in a pattern because that's what their brain, literally their brain, is telling them to do. It's not a mind thing, it's a brain thing. Um, and so it's hard for people to understand. We don't want to recognize trauma. We don't want to call it trauma. We don't want to recognize we have PTSD, because then we have to admit the depth of the suffering, right? And that's for many people, it's just way too painful.
I mean, is this kind of why you call yourself like a life design coach because of these experiences? You actually sat down one day and was like, now I guess I'm this. You probably said this, but I want my life to be better. I want my life to be like this one day, and I want to
Hmm.
overcome all these.
I started figuring that out when I was about 12, that
Nice,
I didn't want my life to be what it was. And I started using JC Penney catalogs. Who remembers those?
I do.
I used to circle all the things in there that I wanted to comprise this life I was inventing for myself. And I used to dog ear all the pages so that I could flip through, every day, and remember and remind myself this new life, fantasize about and imagine this new life that was outside of the world I knew. And, put up my favorite quotes on index cards and tape them on my bedroom wall. And, it was my version of vision boarding, you know. Yeah, I started designing my life because I didn't, I'm, with all seriousness, I am going to say that if I didn't do that, I would have unalived myself successfully. Like, I came very, very close many times. And I think my imagination, you know, that, and someone interrupted once, but is how I survived. There's, many things that kind of worked together that kept me from succeeding, but uh, I needed to imagine. I had my imagination is really the thing that saved me
Yeah.
for
I
so
mean,
many reasons.
that's
So
one thing.
yeah, I think for me, what I've come to recognize is life is life is a series of choices. And when we recognize the power in those choices, we can start to make the little choices more intentionally. And it's not about doing more, it's about being more intentional about what we do. And it's about learning and understanding and growing and reading and exposing ourselves to different things that might help us on our healing journey.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Just that, I developed, this kind of growth mindset, if you want to say, back in right when I graduated college, and that was in '09. And just, all my friends were, and I've said this before on here, so folks, if you heard this before, I'm sorry, but, they were all moving along with their lives and I wasn't doing anything. And this is nothing, relatable to, or not even relatable to what you've been through, but I had this loser mindset, I feel like, in that, I
Mm,
was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't want to go be stuck back at home with my parents' house and living like
mm,
that. But I was like, yeah, I need to learn to actually start making little changes. And I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week.
mm.
But whatever, I wanted to get out of this whole party boy kind of scene thing and just like, I got to start moving on in my life. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, I mean, that's what
yeah,
I did in college. I was a
yeah.
complete fuckhead, for a lack of a better word. Just, well, I
You s-
mean, I blew, like I was talking to you when we were talking about mentors and stuff. I kind of would not look at it, what I had in front of me right there. These green lights, as Matthew McConaughey would say. I
yeah,
was kind of like, nah, whatever. What are we doing Thursday night? Screw this.
yeah,
And then right when graduation happened, everyone started moving away. I was like, oh shit, I messed up.
yeah,
And I thought, like when I went for my master's degree, trying to get these better jobs and doing all this, like this is going to help me along the way. And it did. I mean, at first I didn't see it because I was like, I don't want more school. I don't want to go to school again. But
yeah,
and that's what you got to do if you want certain changes in your life. And I guess that's
yeah,
the whole point. You got to start small and like day by day
yeah,
by day, you eventually, if you keep the mind, if you stay, keep
yeah,
your nose to the grindstone, stay positive, get there.
yeah.
Like you're saying, you'll eventually get there. It might suck, like you
For a
said,
long time,
it
it
might
might suck
suck,
for a long time.
but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And again, just, yeah, I just like to reiterate that, just that, 'cause
yeah,
I don't like people being saying, nah, this is the way it's going to be. I can't change. It's like, yeah, no, dude, that's not the way. You can't.
yeah,
You just don't want
yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, when I was 12 is when I started designing my life. I was 25 before I left my parents' house.
No.
When my parents got divorced is when I moved out. Um, so yeah, I mean, that was 13 years. And then the real work started. I couldn't forgive all the things that had been done. I couldn't truly heal them until I was out on my own. So then it's taken another, God, another 12 years on top of that. So, it's about the long game. right? It's
Yeah.
not about the short game. If we accomplished everything we want to accomplish overnight, we'd have nothing else to live for, right? This is a journey. Life is a journey. It's a process. We just have to let that process unfold as it unfolds. Take one step at a time, make one choice at a time more intentionally. It's all builds on top of each other.
Do you still sit down and design your life, so to speak? Even like for your future?
Yeah.
I do.
You want to see it?
Of course. Everybody, if you want to see what she's showing on YouTube,
Yeah.
is that your vision
Those
board?
are my vision boards. Yeah. And there's multiples of them. They're all subcategorized.
What do you mean subcategorized?
Ah, great question. So there's my board that has the list of all the things that I want to do,
Okay. What's
right?
your
And
top
then
thing?
there's
What's your top thing? Can you share or no? You don't have to if you don't want to.
um top thing. They're all top things.
Okay. Well, the first one you're looking at.
Um Go to Burning Man.
That's a good
I have
one.
a lot of friends who go to Burning Man and I'm like, I'm gonna flip and go. And I was invited to go 2 years ago and then the world shut down.
Damn it.
And then there's a whole board dedicated to the house I will build for myself someday. I've already designed the floor plan and everything.
Nice.
There's a whole board dedicated to travel. Um, and then there's a whole board dedicated to quotes. And like, are you familiar with the Man in the Arena speech?
Man in the Arena speech.
Yeah, Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena
I
speech.
don't think so.
That's what people call it. So I always keep that up there. It starts by saying it's not the critic who counts and not the strong man not the strong man who points out how, or not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. And then I have underlined my favorite part is, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly.
I like that. I just wrote
Yeah.
it down so I would remember it.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing, but yes, I can
Yeah.
look it up.
Brene Brown has that whole clip of that speech in the beginning of her book, Daring Greatly. And at that point, I mean, on the spot, I didn't like blurt it out, but I have most of it memorized.
Nice.
There's many times that I just am like, okay, right now my face is marred with blood and sweat, but I'm in the arena. I'm doing the thing. I'm daring greatly.
Are you a reader? Do you read a lot?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I have a book club. I've had a book club
Okay,
for
fancy.
like 6 years. I usually read 2 to 3 books a month.
Nice.
Right now I'm reading Viola Davis's memoirs. I'm also reading the book The Scent of Desire. It's about the psychology of scent. And I just finished reading Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural like 2 days ago.
I don't know any of those. So, I mean, like I was saying earlier, these last few years, I've tried to make myself become a reader. And I'm an audiobook guy, but I try to go get a book a month. Is my goal. I do okay. I think I do pretty well. But
I mean, that's more than most people.
yeah.
Most people, our attention is constantly being demanded, right? This is not a knock against anyone, right? Because for many years I had stopped reading. But it's because so much of our attention is constantly demanded and hours of our time. I mean, literally the way that social media and television and like commercials and all these things, it works off of hypnosis, right? Many people don't recognize that television, social media, it hypnotizes us, right? It basically puts us in a default state. And that's how so much time goes by and you don't recognize how much time went by. All of a sudden you look up and an hour has passed or 2 hours have passed and you've been on social media, right? You've been
true. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So it's hypnosis, right? So, we lose so much of our time because so much of our brain power is being stolen, right?
Yeah.
So like it's hard to break away from that and to form new habits and to let go of social media, to let go of all those things because it is so addicting, and to force ourselves to be quiet. I've started plugging in my phone. So here's the one thing about starting your own business. It's great. There's a lot that sucks, just to be frank. There's a lot that sucks for a really long time, and then it sucks a little bit less, but then new things suck. I don't wake up to an alarm. I wake up when I wake up. And typically it's between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning, but I do not wake up to an alarm, and I do not usually have any client meetings before 10 a.m. because the first 2 hours of my day are mine. You cannot have them.
Sure.
So I typically plug in my phone outside of my bedroom. So it's not even in the same room as me.
Nice
And
move.
it goes on do not disturb at 9 p.m. and it stays on do not disturb till 7:30 in the morning. If you've got an emergency about a sofa, I do not want to hear about it. So
Wait,
like
does that happen?
100%. I've had clients call me at like 7 a.m. on a Saturday. This is why I established this practice about like a sofa.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was like, this is not the time. I was like, I thought it was a genuine emergency. No. So yeah, no, anyway, yeah, I leave my phone outside of my room, and I've been buying physical books instead of just having Audible, right? So that at least my phone can be out of the room.
Okay.
It's not even with me. So I've slowly moved it further and further away from me. I used to keep it plugged in on my bedside table. Then I moved it across the room, and then I moved it outside of the room.
Good move.
So like just slowly, right? Like forced myself to get a little bit so I didn't get like separation anxiety. Anyway, that's what I did. So, if people can develop a habit of figuring out how to leave their phone away from them so they're not tempted to touch it, because the closer it is to us, the more likely we are to touch it, and, get familiar with reading again. It's a very powerful tool in learning and healing.
Well, I want to know that. So when you started your own business, I know what you just said that, one of the pros about, kind of being your own boss and waking up when you want to, but, was that what was the most stressful thing about starting your business though? Was it just like, ooh,
All of it.
going to work out? Is this going,
All of it. Yeah. You have no idea if it's going to work out. Most businesses fail in the first year. Of the businesses don't fail in the first year, most fail in the first three. Like it's first year, third year. Those are the two like critical. If you can make it past 3 years, you're likely to survive, but it's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed.
Sure.
And financially, it's going to suck for a really long time for most entrepreneurs like that. If it doesn't suck at the beginning, it will suck very soon, right? Like it's not meant to be easy. It's not a journey about the business. The thing you learn really, really quickly, if you want to have any staying power, is that it has nothing to do with your business. It has everything to do with who you are and how you present yourself to the world and who you are being, and your relationship with yourself and your relationship with the world. And you have to get clear on the stories that you've been telling yourself about, throughout your life. And you've got to get clear on the meaning you have assigned to certain things. And you've got to understand who you are and what enters the room when you do, right? Like that's a really powerful exercise. It's like, what enters the room when I do? And then what's even more powerful is to ask complete strangers. Ask someone you've known for less than an hour, what entered the room when I did?
That's impressive.
And just let them write it down. Don't have them say it out loud to you. Just have them write it down and fold it up and read it later and start collecting those things, right? Obviously you need that person's permission, and don't make it super weird or creepy, but it's a really powerful exercise, because then you'll start to see the overlap. You'll start to see things in yourself. People will start to see things or point out things that you didn't see in yourself, good and bad, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, really, it's a really daunting thing, but it's very, very good.
Yeah, just speaking of being vulnerable at the time and just having somebody doing that, you never know what they're going to write down. I mean, I just see comments on even social media and just how bad that is. And then, it's just like a great person.
Social media is full of trolls because no one
Well,
can
that's
see
true
your
too.
face.
But just that's true. There's like keyboard warriors out there, but
100%. And half of them are bots.
well, that's true too. But yeah, just sounds like a good, I don't want to say an icebreaker, but yeah, just
it's definitely not an icebreaker.
Right. But like, just having to do those icebreakers in my job and stuff, and that it was just like, oh, go sit at somebody else's different table or whatever, and like you have to introduce yourself to them. Shit, what am I going to say? But yeah, just that seems like a powerful tool. Where did you learn that? Is that a book or something you developed on your own?
I had a coach I hired a coach for like 6 months at the beginning of my business, right before I took it full time. So I worked with her for 3 months while I was still had a full-time job, and 3 months after. Um, I took the business full time, and she decided to do this exercise. She did this like weekend thing, like this 2-hour thing on a Saturday or something, or 4-hour thing on a Saturday. And there was like 5 of us, and like an hour in, she was like, now we're going to put a big post-it up on the wall, and I'm going to ask everyone in the room, to say, what enters the room when what entered the room when this person did.
Yeah.
And we went around the room and did it. And I was like, I still have that piece of paper folded up. Like, I keep it pretty close because every once in a while I like need to remind myself, like, hey, this is what enters the room, or at least this is what entered the room when you did 4 years ago. Right. And I can kind of look and see, like, where have I grown? Where have I expanded? It's really interesting and really powerful.
Yeah, just I'm sitting here thinking about, if I were to do that, just I wonder what people would write down. And it's cool. Like it's like you open yourself up to a lot. But I do like it. Like I always
Yeah.
I don't want to say I like being critiqued, but I think people need to be critiqued just because I'm
People
not,
aren't
all
used to
right,
be,
that's
yeah.
that's probably
Many
not
people aren't used to
there
being
we go.
critiqued.
That's probably not a good word to say.
Especially, I hate to say this, I'm sorry, but especially men, they're not used to or comfortable with being
Oh,
critiqued.
yeah, I would
And
agree with that.
so I would say, getting familiar and comfortable with being critiqued is a really important skill.
Yeah, I feel like that's how I learned those is that, you can't always think that everything is gummy bears and rainbows at all times. But, if something's wrong or whatever, yeah, all right, I need to know this. And rather than just going
Yeah.
through life like it's okay. And this is what's going to cause a problem down the road instead of, let's address it now. Or if I'm doing something wrong, we can
Yeah.
address it now. And that way I can change, just like you said, growth
Yes,
mindset,
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know,
I say, I say that because there's a lot that goes into gender politics. And I think, I think the fact that many men weren't raised to be comfortable with being critiqued,
sure.
it strips them of some of their humanity and their ability to be vulnerable. And it leaves men in a very, like, it's why so many men get defensive when they are critiqued and
Yeah.
get angry, right? Because it's something they weren't raised to be familiar with. So it's not a knock against men as much as it is like a wake up call to us as a society to, like, we need to raise children equally
I mean,
and prepared and allow people to be their full human selves.
it's very, I guess egocentric in that, going back to, these life experiences and stuff that, you have to have these humbling experiences, like, for me, like, losing my CrossFit competition, my girl
Mhm.
breaking up with me, missing the shot of the game, whatever. I mean, but I feel like you need to have those and learn to lose. And that's what,
Yeah.
I,
We learn from failure way more than we learn from success.
exactly. And you
So if
can
you don't,
always
yeah,
think that you have this alpha mentality that everything's
yeah,
great and all, you can just keep going along with that because it's not always great. And that you need these experiences that bring you down a notch, I mean,
100%.
yeah. And that's one thing that I've had, and, everyone hates to lose. I mean, everyone hates going through breakups. Everyone hates.
No one loves it. No one's like, yes, I
Exactly.
failed.
I
I
mean,
wish I hope we get to that place where we're like, yes, fuck yes. I definitely I just said the F word. Is that okay?
yeah, I've been saying it all the time. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I curse a lot, but I try not to on podcasts. No one's like screaming hell yeah, like I failed, but really we learn way more from it. And that's the place that I think, we need to get to as a society. It doesn't matter your gender, like, where we understand that we're learning from failure. It's a moment to be like, oh, that didn't work.
Mhm.
Okay, so now let's find what does work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
everyone likes having their ego stroked. And,
yeah,
like you said, you got to find out what works. And just, it doesn't mean that just because it didn't work, we need to have these huge fights and long arguments and just,
yeah,
and everyone likes to be right. I get that. I like being right, but I'm not always right. And that's one thing, I've learned on this journey is that,
yeah.
you got to have an open mind. You can't be married to your ideas. You
Yeah.
need
If
to,
we eliminate the language about being right or wrong, and we simply just open ourselves up to learning, it's not about winning or losing. It's not about right or wrong. It's simply about being our authentic selves and learning. It stops being about dichotomies, and it starts being about embracing the gray area between them.
are humans or we, or whatever you'll say, are we losing that touch of being ourselves and being authentic with, media and social media and
Yeah.
I mean, just, what's real and what's not real. I mean, with filters and, what
Yeah.
guys are getting into plastic surgery now and that I was
It's
seeing.
horrifying.
Yeah. And it's just like, are we losing touch with our reality?
Well, yeah, we lost touch with it a long time ago. P.S. I keep staring at your dogs. Like, they're so cute. I just keep staring at them and they're like, oh, she's talking about us? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But at least they're being good. Usually they get on here
Yeah.
and start barking. It's like literally every time so at least they're laying there. But yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, we are. And I don't know where this is going to go in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what the world's going to look like. But
I hope better.
I hope better too. But I don't
I
know.
hope better.
I
Yeah.
mean, I want it to be better. Yeah, obviously, good thing. But it seems like the path that we're on now, it's not leading to anything great. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. And I don't
I
really.
think in many ways, a lot of our systems are being challenged. And I think it's a moment to rethink for many of us to rethink. And Adam Grant just came out with a book called Rethink, Adam Grant. And I just finished reading it last month. It was our book club book last month.
Nice.
It's a moment to rethink many of our assumptions, our understanding of the world, to lean in, to get vulnerable and to start listening, to one another, to stop presuming that we understand someone else's lived experience and just listen
Yeah.
and know that they get to experience their life as they've experienced it. And we don't get an opinion on that.
Yeah.
We can just listen and learn.
Exactly. Everybody, but everyone goes through something different, as we've been saying, and just that, and I always hate that, let's say that, if I'm in one of my CrossFit workouts or whatever, and somebody will be like, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm not you. And it's like, well, that's not, you can do that if you want to, dude. I mean, I'm nothing.
It's
I'm
going
not
to take time. It's just going to take time. You
I'm
can't
just
do it right now, but you can do it.
I've been doing this 8 or 9 years. I put the time in, I've been grinding, and, and I'm trying to put myself up on a pedestal or anything, but there's a lot of nights, Friday night, Saturday night, I was sitting at home instead of going out to bars or whatever, just because I was like, well, I'm waking up in the morning, I'm going to work out, and I eat like a boring person, and that's what I say.
Oh, I stopped eating land and sea animals like 6 months ago. And then I stopped eating sugar 3 weeks
Well,
ago.
that's great.
Woo, that was a hard one. I gave up land and sea animals and I was like, this isn't that hard. No big deal, because I have such a diverse diet. It didn't bother me whatsoever. And I wasn't like losing out on any protein because I just knew how to supplement it. Right.
Sure.
But dear God, and I don't eat soy either. But dear God, giving up sugar, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. For there was sometimes that I was like, if I just would, I would give my left arm for like a bar of chocolate right now. Like I would just,
Yeah, it gets you hooked. I mean, I'm the same way. Some nights when I go see a movie or whatever, yeah, I still get, like gummy bears or Lifesaver gummies. There's my usually go-tos. But yeah, there's, even after I start eating them, I just want more. I can't stop.
Well, that's the whole sinister nature of sugar.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes. That's why I don't eat it anymore. It's not like I'll never eat it again, but it's like a once a month thing.
Why did you decide to stop eating land and sea animals? I mean, was that just something you wanted to do or something? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. It's dietary or.
Well, so I have osteoarthritis. I'm 37 and have arthritis in both my knees and my left ankle and my thumb, the one that I cut with the table saw. So it just, in doing research and understanding what causes inflammation in our bodies, meat is a big part of that. And so I cut it out to see if it would help. I don't want to have knee replacement surgery at 37. I want to see if I can heal my body naturally. And so I gave that up. It's not, and I didn't give up sea animals specifically because they cause inflammation. It was more just like, I don't really like them that much to begin with. I do eat, and I will eat them every once in a while, but it's like a 3 times a year sort of thing rather than like a regular thing. Because I happen to really love like beans and nuts and seeds and those sort of things, and I get plenty of protein, and I'll still eat eggs. But yeah, it was a decision, and sugar actually causes a significant amount of inflammation as well.
Sure.
So that was the next thing to go, but I wasn't going to give up sugar and land animals at the same time. That felt like way too much, right? Like it was just way too much. And my thing is, I'm just giving it up. I'm giving up land and sea animals completely for a year. And then it, I might eat poultry, once in a while,
Sure.
like couple times, maybe once a month or something after that, but primarily eat vegan or vegetarian. So like my goal is like eat vegan or vegetarian at home. And then if every once in a while, if I want to throw chicken on a salad in the future, then I will, but I'm going a whole year without it. It's also
Uh,
for like planetary reasons.
So
Like,
have you noticed any changes though? I mean, has it gotten better
oh
since?
yeah, I don't wake up with swollen knees every day anymore.
Oh, God.
Like having to like wrap your knees in ice every single day just from walking. Yeah.
I can
I
imagine.
used to run 4 miles a day, 5 times a week. I went from running 4 miles a day, 5 times a week and doing 2 other like pretty badass workouts to being lame. I couldn't walk without significant pain and swelling. I couldn't get my like legs in my pants anymore because my knees were so swollen. I went from that, not being able to basically not be able to walk for 3 months, to being like, this can't, this can't. And it was during the pandemic. So like, it wasn't,
It's even
it
worse.
wasn't like life threatening. So I just had to kind of like suck it up and deal with it. It took me a year to get an appointment to get an MRI.
Well, at least you kind of, you challenge yourself to find an experiment to see like, hey, what's causing this? Let me do some research instead of just
Yeah.
saying, I guess this is how it is.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. And also like when you're used to running, your body's like, hello, what's going on here? Like my body got seriously depressed. It was a tough
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so now I'm walking and not eating sugar and
That's good.
not eating.
I mean, I'm a meat eater, and I'm currently reading. It's called The Sacred Cow by Rob Wolf, and he's currently going through like all the different things. Does it cause heart disease, cancer, and I'm so pretty far into it. But I made a note that I want to look up the inflammation part of it to see what I can find out. So
Yeah.
I never heard of that meat causing inflammation.
I mean, as far as the WHO, the World Health Organization, red meat is a level 1 carcinogen, the same as consuming plutonium. Just so you know. Mm-hmm.
Write that down too. See
Yeah.
what it says. Okay.
Not good for you. It doesn't mean you can't ever eat it. It's just not good for you. And unfortunately, if you follow the money, you always find out why it's a recommended thing. By like the Cancer Association, by the American Diabetic Association, all these things. When you look at who sponsors them, then you understand why those diets are recommended the way they're recommended. I'm just saying, always follow the money.
Yeah, well, that's almost in literally everything, though, too.
Everything, yeah.
Always with money. But
anyway,
no, we don't have to make this whole nutrition. But yeah, I'm going to write that down and see what I can find out. Just because I'm always interested in stuff like that, and I know how my body performs and what I eat.
I mean, Tom Brady is one of the top performing athletes in the world and is vegan.
Who's that?
Primarily vegan and vegetarian. Tom Brady.
I know.
Right? So
joke.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to be his fan, but I'm just saying the dude played badass football into what age?
Yeah.
Right. And he doesn't eat land. He doesn't eat land animals. So I'm just saying, if Tom Brady can do it.
Well, he also doesn't get hit a lot too, so that probably helps.
I don't know that anybody should get hit as much as they get hit, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's definitely a whole other conversation. But
anyway.
All right. I want to be respectful of your time before we start getting too crazy on here and all that. If you want to plug all your stuff.
Sure. I'll just make it simple and easy.
Okay.
If you want to find me, head to my website. There's a tab dedicated specifically to me as a speaker and a writer, but the website as a whole is a reflection of who I am and how I'm building the company and how we work together as a culture. It's my business name is Concinnate, CONCINNATE.world. So just go to concinnate.world and you will be able to find all of my contact information, including my email. And you can reach out if you have any questions or want to connect. And then all of our social media links are at the link tree on the website.
Concinnate. Is that kind of just arrange maybe? Or like come together?
Concinnate is a defunct word. It is a real word, but it's not one that people use anymore. It means to arrange or blend together skillfully as parts or elements put together in a harmonious, precisely appropriate or elegant manner.
I like that.
Yeah, it's badass.
Yeah, it's definitely badass. I kept thinking co. It's like, I wonder if it's like to bring together.
No, yeah, it's a real word. It sounds familiar, but it's not.
That's
the key to a great name.
Set yourself apart too. I mean, yeah. So yeah.
Yep. So yeah, head to concinnate.world and you'll be able to find me there.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was great. I wrote down a few pearls and gems for myself.
Yeah.
Had a great time.
Thanks, Chris. It was great talking with you.
Okay, everybody. Anything else you want to say before we get there?
Mm.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody, we're gone. Be good to yourselves and all that good stuff.